symphony of love, unbound. Here in the PNW, we go beyond the sound.
Welcome to part 2 of episode 3 in the Beyond the Sound podcast, where we are with special guests Hannah and Zach Smith.
So, Hannah, Zach, I know you guys both have a pretty strong praise and worship background. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So, actually, maybe we can start with Hannah. I've seen you at our core a number of times. So because John and I usually provide a fair amount of the music, and when we don't do the music, then they'll put up videos, and it's usually from SA Connect. So I think it's just purely the Eastern Territory Praise and Worship group that I know you were or are a part of. But yeah, we see you up there all the time on the wall, just being projected. So tell us a little bit about that experience. Like when was that? Is it still active? What's the whole story there?
Yeah, so I was a part of a group, territorial worship group called Unbound, which is the Eastern Territories territorial worship group, which at the time was led by Doug Barry. Now it's run by Victor Morales, who's the contemporary music director for the East. And basically, they started recording these once COVID hit in early 2020. They started recording very small as we could. What started with a trio doing these worship songs that we could stream for our territorial worship service we called Worship Together. So we would live stream it through our SA Connects, which is our social media for the East. We would live stream a church service, and we would kind of input these videos as the time for contemporary music. And I think ultimately we wanted to turn that into resources for chorus to use, because we know that not every corps has a brass band or a worship band. I mean, contemporary worship band. So we wanted these to become resources that we could use not just during COVID, but beyond that as well. So late 2020, early 2021, we have a studio at the basement of territorial headquarters in the East. So basically we would just all take turns, us Unbound members that were local, we would take turns coming in, recording a couple songs a day. And yeah, so I did about maybe 10, somewhere between 10 and 12 videos, maybe more, but we would just come in, have a set list, and very interesting using like in-ears and have some tracks as well, and kind of get used to the virtualness of it as well, because we were still practicing social distancing and all that. And then also, how do you maintain a spirit of worship when you've got cameras pointed at you? It's a very hard thing to do, especially not looking directly into the camera. And so really trying to get lost into the music and trying to cultivate authentic moments of worship, which I, tried very hard to get myself into that headspace, and, closing your eyes really helps. A bit of that, but it was interesting because we did do a wide range of music as well. Hymns to something more recent to, teaching new songs to people as well, or just some good old throwbacks. I think one of them I did was The Potter's Hand. So full throwback there, at least for me. Throwback.
Yeah, throwback to 1994 or something.
Yeah.
So are you guys still recording with Unbound and stuff?
I'm not. No, I had to step away for just scheduling reasons. But I don't know if they still record stuff annually, but I don't think we're regularly filming those videos.
Yeah, because I think one of a huge thing out here, and I'm sure it's an issue all over, is a lot of our core where they don't have live music, they use like YouTube or iMusic or what iWorship or something along those lines, and copyright is a huge issue. And I think, if they just had more resources, I think they would be able to, not have their social medias taken down. I thought you called the album the COVID hits and not because COVID hit, when you said that, I was like,
Oh my gosh.
you called it the COVID hits? That's awesome.
The
COVID hits.
We released the album as the COVID Classics.
All right, sorry, what were you gonna say?
So Zach, what about you? What's your praise and worship background there?
Yeah, again, growing up being a punk rock kid, I would always like be thumping away on the bass in like some punk band or whatever. And then whatever church I would go to, I would always want to go in and play bass. They always had a bass player. They never had a drummer. So I kind of taught myself how to play drums. And I played in worship bands for a long time until eventually the worship leaders, they went into the training college and I stepped up to be the worship leader. And I was in like a very like, oh, I don't like worship music. Like, so it was very like, all right, here's these 3 songs from the 90s that everybody knows. And then I kind of felt this sense of, if I'm doing this, I have the responsibility to take it seriously. So that's when I started like saying, all right, if I'm going to do worship music, like I have to like it. I can't just, get up and go, all right, here's the song on the radio that I think is bad, but it's catchy, so we're going to do it. So that's become like an ongoing journey to like find new songs and, there's a lot of songs that are, hits more or less that I enjoy. But I think just being very intentional about looking for new music and looking for new artists, and then now even songwriting. And it's kind of been this ongoing thing where like I'll start at a new church, like playing bass or something, and then everybody quits, and I end up being the praise and worship leader just over and over again. So when Hannah and I think before we even started dating, we had kind of talked about like doing music together and things like that. And then, just now I don't want to lead worship if Hannah's not there to sing also. Usually, like if I'm by myself, I'm very uncomfortable and like looking at my feet and like similar. I don't know where to look, but
seems very much like a Ricky Bobby, I don't know what to do with my hands kind of scenario.
Yeah. But it's like even with the teens, like, 'cause it's usually just me and my guitar. I'm like, I'm not gonna look directly at them and like see them not singing. So it's something where as I've gotten older, I've enjoyed it more. And and now that we've gotten into even songwriting and things like that, I love sharing music with congregations and then being able to even talk to them about maybe what they got from it afterwards. Like the community of praise and worship is so like beautiful, and it's one of the things I think we don't always talk about that much, and it's a very important part.
Very nice, very nice. So this actually kind of segues us to our next topic, which is the Honey Initiative, which is it just the two of you?
It's not a bee farm.
There is a honey bee initiative, actually. Funny you should say. In my limited research, but there's so the Honey Initiative is something that you guys have started recently, I think. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the what that's all about?
Yeah. Well, so we started while we were dating, we started writing songs together, and we both knew that we wanted to continue leading worship and doing it together, playing music together, all that. And we just thought we need a name. We need to establish something, because
the Smiths was already taken.
The Smiths was already taken, so we couldn't do that. So one of the things that we take very seriously is kindness. And that's something that's been like a very important theme in my life, and something that Zach's really good at as well. So thinking about kindness, and the verse Proverbs 16:24 says that kind words are like honey, sweet to the soul and good for the body. And we both really liked that theme, that kindness wasn't just good for like encouragement for the soul, but like healthy. It's good for the body. So basically, we came up with the name, the Honey Initiative, out of desire to create environments of worship that are kind and welcoming and authentic, and it doesn't have to be produced, but can be just as it is, as people come and wanting to create just more opportunities like that as we lead worship. So yeah. I don't know if you.
Well, I was going to say, like, even there's like that sense of how many times have you been in a worship setting and you've been like, oh my gosh, that was great. And then you go up to talk to the worship leader, and for lack of a better term, like he or she is a jerk. You know what I mean? Like, I think we've tried to be very like aware of, how we talk to people and how we treat people, and to like do that intentionally. And it's so you asked if it's just Hannah and I, and the answer is sometimes. It all depends. There's sometimes where we'll go do a gig and it's Hannah on piano and me on guitar, and we'll just do that. And then sometimes when we're more fortunate, we're able to bring a band with us. We have these friends, Julie and Aaron McCombs. She plays bass, he plays drums. So there's an ARC that's in Patterson. So we'll go down there and lead worship for Vespers sometimes. Or there's like a big Army conference called Lead that we've done the past 2 years. And that's always, we prefer when we get to bring friends and have a full band, but also the times when it's just us. We just recently went to Myrtle Beach and did led worship with their Salvation Army, just the two of us, and that was really lovely. So it's always a different experience.
I've had a couple opportunities to do worship for events with my wife, and like they always compliment her.
Yep. Everyone's always like, Hannah's great, and you're there too. And I'm like, that's right.
It's like, oh, Kat, you sound so good. Like, oh, okay, thanks. But we for our core during the COVID era, we did a lot of videos for our core as well, and just there's something that adds like from a husband and wife relationship point of view. There's something super special about doing worship with your significant other and your partner and your spouse. And I don't wish for the COVID stuff to be around again, but definitely more of those experiences, of doing worship with my spouse, with my wife. That'd be pretty fun. So I'm a little envious of you. I always think. So this last December, we did a lot of concerts at community, like retirement centers. And when people would come up to us and say thank you, like, oh yeah, like it's fine, it's a concert. But when it's like with worship, I feel weird.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, thank you for leading. We're like, what do you...
the gratitude, you mean?
Yeah, like, what do you thank me for? Like, do you guys ever feel that way? Like, how do you respond? Like after leading a weekend, like, oh, thank you so much, and it's like, okay.
The guy who plays drums with us usually, he always handles it so gracefully, where he'll say like, all glory to God right away, and I'm always like, yeah, that's the right answer. That's what I should say, but like, I don't know. It's just initially I'm just like, no, it wasn't that, but like, because again, I think when you're doing it, as also just being in the worship as musicians, a lot of times we hear like the wrong note or like that mistake that you made, and like you're afraid someone's going to come up and be like, I saw that. So I think there's always a sense of like, not that I don't trust people. It's like, are you just being nice, or did you really think it was good? And I think one of like my favorite things that I've heard was after I was leading worship, just by myself one time, someone came up and they said, I really like how unapologetic you are in the way that you lead. And I was like, oh, I can do something with this, So I think accepting the gratitude is super hard, but I think at the same time, it's like, is there like maybe a note in here, or is there something that I can learn from? And this is kind of one that I talk about sometimes with people. I feel like as worship leaders, people are a little less sensitive sometimes when they talk to us, because they have no problem a lot of times telling you, I don't like this song. I wish we did more songs like this. I wish we did more songs like that. And for me, what I try to do is, all right, instead of putting up a wall and just like having my feelings hurt and that's it, like, how can I kind of maybe see this person and where they're coming from, and then maybe incorporate some more of what they're maybe what their heart is getting at rather than their words. Like, for instance, we just did a conference at the lead conference. We got to do it 2 years in a row. One of the notes coming back was, hey, we have a lot of people who speak Spanish. Would you mind doing a couple of songs in Spanish? And my thought process was, well, there's all these classic songs in English. Let's do those in Spanish, because if you know it already, like, you can sing it. And if you don't, you're going to get to learn it pretty quick. And there were a lot of people who came up and they're like, I couldn't follow along. It was really hard for me. Things like that, you know. And instead of going
People
like,
who spoke English.
yeah, English speakers who are like, it was really hard to follow. I didn't like that. Instead of me going like, oh, well, that person's just a jerk and, and they don't like stuff, but being able to go, you know, maybe they're getting to feel what like the Spanish speaking population feels, you know, sitting in the service and, you know, he's seeing all these songs and it's like, I can kind of translate, but not get at the meeting and thinking about, okay, well, how can we bring that up when we're leading, and how can we, you know, let the audience in on that as an opportunity to see each other. So I think that was a very long answer for a very short question, but with grace is the answer.
Yeah, it's tough being a worship leader. I mean, we could have an entirely different podcast episode on it by itself, but being a worship leader is tough. Like, I think one of the things people don't realize is just the amount of effort and time, you know, we put into picking music. You know, it's not like, okay, let's just pick the top 3 out of, you know, the song select 100 or whatever. Like, there's a lot of time and intention, and like, for me, I like to make sure the entire service is a coherent whole, right?
Yeah.
Like, the songs are just part of the worship experience, and a lot of that I have to wait until like I get a theme or I get a scripture, you know, for things, and if I'm waiting for that, then that just makes my life a lot more difficult and anxious as we head into, like, especially events, you know, when you're kind of waiting, like, oh, okay, what's their theme going to be for the chapel?
Yeah.
Oh, they're just talking about God. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. There's,
Right.
you know,
Zarga.
there's a lot that we can go, but sorry, a little tangent there.
It probably varies person to person too. I mean, you're very thematic in the way that you approach things. Probably not far removed from another's approach, but as far as the Honey Initiative is concerned, so when you perform, be it the two of you or with your friends that are also playing instruments behind you, are you guys doing mostly originals? What's the process there?
We do one original right now.
Yeah,
Maybe two.
we are sneaking in a couple originals. We don't tell people it's original.
Yeah.
Until after we're done. We're like, and then we wrote that. If you liked that, we wrote that. If you didn't, we're
We wrote
band.
that.
Yeah.
So you teased us with what was it, Rock of Ages, I think is the single
Yeah.
that you
yeah.
put out, and
Yeah.
then I think by the time this comes out, obviously you have an EP set to release, I think tomorrow.
Recording tomorrow, yeah.
So
12 o'clock a.m.
how many songs on the EP?
There's 4.
Okay.
So including Rock of Ages, there's 3 more. So yeah, 2 more of those are praise and worship songs, and then the other one is a very lamentful mourning song. So we've kind of, I don't want to say moved away from writing praise and worship songs, just as we've initially, I think that's what we were trying to do, was write praise and worship songs, and then as we have had, you know, more to say about different topics, it was, we don't want to necessarily box ourselves into, can a congregation sing this easily? So we're working on some new stuff right now, and there's a couple more praise and worship songs that we're working on, but it's also just a lot of, hey, this is just a song about our thoughts on this or that or the other thing.
Yeah.
But right now, it's mostly other songs, but we, like I said, we try to pick stuff that's off the beaten track. So yeah.
So when that releases, where can people find that?
They can find that pretty much anywhere they listen to music. So it'll be Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Amazon Music as well.
Like
Pandora.
YouTube, like you guys are making music videos or like lyric videos?
Yeah, our
That'd be a good
distributor
idea.
Well, the lyric
If I knew
videos
how
would
to
be nice.
internet, that'd be good.
Our distributor, that sounds so professional.
DistroKid, the website.
DistroKid, they basically they release the audio of the song with a picture of the album art.
Okay. So by the time this episode goes live, the EP will come out. So we'll make sure that everything's linked so people can know.
And all those platforms, it's all just the Honey Initiative is what they look for. Okay.
We're the only one, I think.
How do you find the writing process? Like, what becomes like? I think if I were to open up my iPad Notes app, there would be probably anywhere between 25 and 30 started songs. I can come up with choruses all day long. That's like an easier aspect of a song for me, but finding like verses and or a bridge, if it needs it, that's always there's a reason why they're not finished. So what about like the writing process for you both? How do you guys go about that?
Yeah, it's one that when you can chase a song, that's the best. Like my favorite song that we've ever written, which is not on the EP unfortunately, is a song that like I got the lead guitar line for when we were walking in the mall, and I like grabbed my phone and like sang into the notes really quick, and then I was like, we gotta get home, and like I gotta like get in the studio and like record this. And then it was very much like, I had inspiration for the first verse and then the chorus, and I was sort of like, ooh, I don't know what happens, but like let's move on. And the nice thing is, like, because it's the two of us, I'm able to then say, all right, Hannah, here's what I've got. And a lot of times she'll hear something totally different than what I'm hearing. And then it's kind of like, all right, how do we meet in the middle and see both of our visions? So my favorite songs are the ones where you have like that spark of inspiration. It's like, all right, let's keep going, and like, let's chase it. And then there's the other songs where you sit down with guitar, piano, and you're like, all right, I'm going to try to write today. And those aren't as fun off the bat to kind of like just, all right, let me think about this or that or the other thing. But we one of the songs on this EP was me thinking, if I were trying to write a song by Fleet Foxes, what would it sound like? And then I can use that as my jumping off point, rather than, because then it's more, all right, here's not the chords I like, but here's what a Fleet Foxes chord progression would sound like. Or then another song on the EP was, I read like a real horrific news article and was immediately like, I think I want to write a song about this. So just knowing then, all right, I already know we're going to be using minor chords, and like it's a lot of storytelling, so maybe more folky chords. I think for me, if I'm thinking about music, almost like math, you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to write this song, so this is the equation that I need in order to get the result.
Yeah, for me, I would say I don't chase songs. I like how you said that as much. For Rock of Ages, the song we currently have out, it was just that first little phrase, Rock of Ages, God of Promise, that I thought of, and I thought of it with the melody, and that's all I had for 2 months, maybe, before we actually got the inspiration to finish the song. And even then, we got stuck on the second verse, and that took another 2 months to actually finish.
It's always the second verse. It's always the second verse.
But yeah, I think I personally am more comfortable with lyrics, and Zach is the rock star with the instrumentation, because he just takes it and really brings it alive. Sometimes I'll just send him voice memos of me singing some random, like, it probably sounds insane, me just singing into like the dead air, and then he's able to just find the chords so easily. And sometimes we have to like rework it a little bit so it fully works, but and not just that, but he's such a strong lyricist as well. So that's a little bit from my perspective.
Well, that's the other thing about that's nice that's writing in a team is I had this song I was working on over Christmas, and I was so close to the end, and I just couldn't come up with the line. So I just handed my notebook to Hannah, and I was like, here's the melody I have in my mind. finish the song. And then it's a matter of she'll throw like 6 ideas at me and I'm like, no. And then like there's something that's like, yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Write that down. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that the teamwork, it makes the dream work.
So you mentioned you had been writing songs since your dating days.
Yes.
Yeah.
Give or take, maybe not final product, finished work. How many songs would you say you or guesstimate you've written to this point?
Well, Keith, I can give you that. I'll give you that number exactly. We have the 4 on here, and then the one that the vocals were clipping. So the mixer, we realized too late. We were supposed to have 5 on this one, and then one of them didn't quite make it. But it's just an opportunity to, revisit it and beef it up a little bit. But we have those 5 plus the 6 that we've written for the full length album, and that arrangement of Leaning on the Everlasting Arms. I don't know if you would call that
Sure.
one.
Why not?
So like we're in the neighborhood of like 12 songs.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Nice. Do you guys work on finishing a song before moving on to another one, or is there not like a set process for that?
Huh.
More recently, yes. At the beginning of songwriting, no. If we had an idea, we would just start it. But we've gotten a lot quicker with songwriting
Yeah.
as time's gone on, which I'm sure is probably true for most songwriters. But
Well, and again, I think kind of breaking out of this has to be a praise and worship song.
Yeah.
Like I started reading. We went and saw Taylor Linhart in concert, and she was talking about, I'm trying to memorize a lot more poetry, and I was like, oh, that'd be a good idea. Like, what if I started to read more poetry? And then that really unlocked something with me about, things can be metaphoric. Like at the college for officer training, there's this pond that's kind of in the middle of the campus, and everyone kind of like makes fun of it because it gets like stinky and it's dirty and it's been there forever. And like it's this ongoing joke about like, it's the swimming pool and stuff like that. But we had a pretty severe like 61-day drought here in New Jersey, and like the pond just started like draining all the water out of it, and like where you could see the bottom. And I was so like devastated about that. Like, oh gosh, I never realized. And then one morning it was just torrential downpour, and driving to work, I was like, oh good, the pond is going to be okay. Like it's, and then I thought like, there's got to be this has to be a song, right? Like there's got to be a whole thing. And then just that unlocked something. We wrote a song about like the struggles that we go through and how it's, hard to see the end when you're in it. And, really that song is about the pond. So I think having now that option has helped us a lot. Just knowing that this can just be a song people listen to and doesn't necessarily have to be, sung by everyone.
I wonder how many, big time popular Christian artists, let's go in the specific praise and worship realm. So like, like Brian Johnson and, those guys, Phil Wickham. And, I wonder what their struggle is of, okay, writing for the church as opposed to just writing albums that they just, or writing songs that they just, what's just coming to heart. I wonder what like if they had to put a percentage on there, like they obviously have to write for church stuff, but I wonder if they wanted to write more personal music. I wonder what that would be. Like, cause they're like from the Bethel, like stable, we call it. Well, I guess I'd call it. Like the Hesslers are like that. David Hessler. They're kind of like that. The McCains are very similar. They don't always write praise and worship type music.
John Mark.
Yeah. The Torvalds are similar in that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm not trying to throw shade, but I remember I heard Phil Wickham's Cannons and thought, oh my gosh, this is such a good album, and never thought of it as a praise and worship album. Like I didn't realize people sang Cannons in church ever, but there were so many cool songs that were like so rich with like imagery, and like he painted such a beautiful picture. And then you buy his last album and it's like 12 This Is Amazing Graces, which again, like I'm not throwing shade at him. Like the dude's a good songwriter. It's just something where I feel like maybe he's hit his market as more like I'm a praise and worship guy. And part of me is like, I'd love to see you revisit your roots, but maybe this is just like who you are now. But to go into your thing, I think a lot of times when I'm just scrolling through Instagram, the big thing is like the praise and worship song has to have like this crazy line in it. You know what I mean? Like this, you could put that on a t-shirt and that's what people are going to be psyched about.
Yeah. You know Phil Wilkins from San Diego?
No.
Yeah, he grew up at he's going to one of the mega churches in San Diego. I don't think it's the Rock though. I don't think it's the Rock Church. I can't remember where he was from. But yeah. We might want to fact check that before we go live.
No, I'm just going live.
I'm pretty sure he's from San Diego, but okay, well we're coming to the end of the episode, and Rick, we've kind of touched on some new things kind of coming up ahead for you guys personally with the Honey Initiative. And I did want to kind of preview of what's ahead for us. So
yes,
2025, the musical theater show. Now, it hasn't been fully approved yet. It's just sitting in our TSAM, which is our meeting management thing. But I have no doubts it'll get approved perfectly fine. So I can say this with 100% certainty that the show for 2025 is going to be Shrek Jr.
Woo!
I know nothing about the musical.
Oh, it's good. It's good.
Is it original music or is it like pop tunes?
It's all stars, all times. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah. So I'm actually excited about that. I was Little Mermaid. Aladdin. The interesting thing was it was supposed to be the Music Man.
Yes.
And then there was like zero interest. I think we had like 2 kids signed up.
And then, tough too, I think, in the limited amount of time.
Yes. And so then I think I contacted you guys and I was like, this isn't going to work. So we switched it to Aladdin. We were able to get, I think 12 or 13 people to go to that. And then last year, I think it was pretty early where we decided, I think Little Mermaid Jr. would be great. But, after the show, after that week, there were, and even during, so we did a musical theater elective at senior music camp, and that's where we did Under the Sea. And a lot of those kids were asking about, can we do Shrek? Can we do Shrek? Yes. And so I was like, no, it's not. I don't want to do that. But then, as I was looking for musicals to do this year and just going through the MTI catalog, and I was like, we should do Shrek.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I'm actually excited. I haven't seen the musical. I've listened to some of the music because you can kind of preview it there on MTI shows or whatever the website is. But I'm pretty excited about the musicals. Do you guys have any experience with Shrek, the musical?
Yeah, one of my best friends was in it, so I've seen the show a few times with her in it. So, and it was just fun. I think that's the thing is Shrek can be so fun and silly and just an opportunity to really let loose and go crazy. So.
And I look like Shrek, so
No. There's a lot of fun characters in it too. It's a lot of fairy tale characters.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because you said you played a guard in one of your shows, and all I could think of
number 3, my lord.
Yeah. That's the only thing I could think of. Yeah, so I'm excited. I'm excited for Shrek Jr. I think it's gonna be a great show, and with you guys coming back, I think it'll be. I've prophesied it. It's gonna happen. So we're gonna.
And I promise not to pass out this year.
Yes.
We weren't sure if we were gonna bring that up or not.
Oh no! I
almost brought it up.
I think you should.
For those of you who were not there, musical theater camp can be fairly intense, and it's so intense that it caused Zach to kind of just faint on the road as he was walking back to his cabin.
Very dramatically we'll say too. It was very theater kid.
Out of nowhere.
It's
Yeah.
giving theater kid is what I thought.
Back of the hand on the forehead.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
Steps away from the room.
We always like to end the show with like some shout outs. Just like to give shout outs to people who've either we've worked with, like you've worked with either during camp, or just people you've come across who are just doing a good job in music and theater. It's one of the hard things of keeping it going. Like Salvation Army has such a rich history of choir and brass band. We're getting there with like praise and worship. The other art stuff, we're still kind of really far behind, I think. So, yeah, I think kind of keeping that musical theater tradition going and just keeping it up there, keeping it going, and just encouraging kids to do that. Because it, in terms of offering, like you almost encompass everything in terms of music and arts. You dance, acting, there's singing. If we had a live pit orchestra, there'd be an opportunity to play in that, which, hopefully we're like a couple years down the road from that. That'd be awesome to not have to worry about tracks.
yeah.
So just give a couple shout outs, if you have them, if you remember them.
Well, we called out a few earlier of Jonah and Rosalind and Colette.
And Kobe.
And Kobe and Abby and
They're just gonna name the whole
Liz.
cast.
We're about to.
So,
and Julia and Tetsuya. Tetsuya?
That's yeah.
Isaiah.
Dan,
let's just run through the whole.
I think especially of Olivia last year being such a trooper of like just kind of being very open with us, like I've never done this before, I don't know what to do, and just had just so proud of the work that she did as Flounder, and just
if you don't want to have a big role in the show, I would recommend not telling us you've never done this before, because we'll like, oh, okay, then let's give you the full experience. Yeah. I really, Kobe, I hope to see again.
Yeah, I think I said this to Zach yesterday when we were thinking about, recording, and I just want to emphasize how proud I am of the casts that we've worked with, because we are kind of in work mode once we're there, but we want you to know that we love you all dearly, and we prayed for you as we would come back, and transitions back into school in the fall, and whatever that looks like, and sometimes we'll even say like, oh, remember when this happened, or remember when this happened, and it's such great moments. And I even think of one of my favorite, a shout out to Emily for when came with her
little hoop,
jellyfish hula hoop, and did the spinning, and it looked so beautiful, and just a great way for her to be a part of the show too.
Yeah.
So.
Whenever the officer kids or cadet kids are sassing me, I'm like, oh man, Rose would never. So
Danica, that whole thing with Danica's, she played Scuttle, and the whole like spying on them, oh man, that was so funny.
That was so funny. Oh my goodness.
I should put a timestamp on the YouTube where that happens.
Oh.
Yeah, and Keitha's Le Poisson. I mean,
Le
it's
Poisson.
a career highlight for me.
Except you forgot the words.
I did. I just go with some la la las for a little bit there.
Okay, what about you?
Mode.
What about you? Shout out.
I couldn't see the screen. I was in panic. I was seeing red. Shout out for me. I'll probably give it to Isaiah just because he didn't know he was going to do theater camp at the start of it. I don't even think it was a thought the week prior at senior camp.
No.
But, just braving it and becoming our Prince Eric. I thought that was a big step. Like for me, this is something I've discovered way too late in life, is just getting out of your comfort zone and really just embracing it and going with it. Like to see these kids all do that.
I'm glad this is being recorded because he doesn't often like to get out of his comfort zone.
You're talking about food specifically, but like even me 2 years ago would never have done the Chef Louis thing, and this time I was like, yeah, whatever, I'll do it. That's fine. But yeah, just seeing them all get out of their comfort zone was really rewarding, I think. But I'll give it to Isaiah as my shout out.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have two, and they just go to our staff. So Abby, who played Ursula, was
Absolutely.
fantastic. And then we have Grimsby,
Yes.
Adam Wale.
Yes.
What a guy! That was
He was great.
that was fantastic. And like, because the week before at senior music camp, I don't think I ever heard him or see him open his mouth
Yeah.
or anything. And then even at the beginning of musical theater camp, you know, he wasn't. I didn't see him doing much, and then all of a sudden he just gets up to do lines. Oh, it was fantastic. And I think the one thing that we had to do was like, Adewale, like, slow down because we can't hear you. But when he was on, it was hilarious. It was like, it was so good. What a good guy. So
Gosh, I can't watch that tonight.
Yeah, we're probably gonna go watch it right when we're done.
I guess maybe one more off topic. Do you have maybe a musical, say a junior production, like a dream junior production to do, like say with our kids? Is there one that comes to mind?
Yes, I do. What launched me into my love of musical theater? When I was a kid, I used to rent I'm gonna be a little suspenseful. There was a Disney movie that I used to rent every weekend and watch it. One weekend it was gone, so my mom got me the pro shoot, and it was Mary Martin's Peter Pan, and I fell in love with musical theater in that moment. So my I will die a happy man. I want to do Peter Pan. I don't know how with the flying and everything like that.
Maybe like the
And
carpet.
also,
screens.
it would be really tough, but oh my goodness, I would be ecstatic.
Yeah. Hannah, what about you?
Oh goodness, this is hard. I'm thinking of shows like
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ Superstar. Yeah,
That would go well.
that would be it. I don't know. I'm thinking of shows like that I've done that I'd like be excited to share with, like, you know, like I think of shows like
Cats.
Cats. No, like I think of like Godspell or Bye Bye Birdie. We just saw Bye Bye Birdie Jr. or you saw it.
That's not a bad idea.
And Beauty and the Beast was a really fun show. You know, things like that. That's what come to mind.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I just had a thought about Peter Pan, actually, is if we did an outdoor show, because they have that rock climbing wall there. So presumably they're on harnesses for that. So you could just have Peter Pan rigged up on a harness the whole show outside. I'm flying.
Flying!
Oh gosh. Well, thank you both for giving up of your time to join us on this podcast episode, and we really appreciate you taking the time to spend some time with us. So good luck on your EP release, and we will be sure to link it in the show notes and when we put it up when this episode goes live. And just good luck to you both on your upcoming endeavors, and we will see you guys back here in the Northwest in the summer.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
In the heart of the rain and evergreen trees, the mountains meet the sea, a place of peace. Melodies rising like the morning mist. We gather to learn, create, and exist. Beyond the sound, beyond the stage, we lift our voices, turn the page. A symphony of love, unbound. Here in the PNW, we go beyond the sound. From blast to brush, from strings to song, every hand and heart finds where they belong. In every note and color, every line and beat, we build a world where souls can meet. sound. From brass to brush, from strings to song, every hand and heart finds where they belong. In every note and color, every line and beat, we build a world where souls can meet. Beyond the sound, beyond the sound, beyond the stage, we lift our voices, we lift our voices, turn the page. A symphony of love unbound, here in the PNW, we go beyond the sound.